Thank you for helping with elections in the borough. Whether you are an old hand or new to elections, this year will be different. So please watch this safety video to see how you can play your part in delivering a COVID-safe and secure election. In this video, we will describe some of the steps needed to set up and run a COVID-secure polling station. Further advice can be found in the setup instructions, the polling station handbook, and risk assessments that have been issued to presiding officers. The video also describes cleaning and how to deal with a suspected COVID case or if the booth becomes contaminated. Polling stations vary, but we will start with the new measures implemented for COVID. These include a polling clerk who acts as a greeter at larger polling stations, the wearing of face coverings by voters and polling staff, ventilation, signage, the use of a one-way system in some polling stations, screens for polling clerks, and what to do with polling booths, pens and pencils. Greeters. As the voter arrives at the polling station, there will be social distancing signage displayed, asking voters to keep 2 metres apart. At larger polling stations, a polling clerk will act as a greeter. Part of their role will be to ask voters to line up 2 metres apart and to keep social distance. Greeters will also check if anyone has a disability and guide them to a separate disabled entrance, if it's different to the main entrance, to ensure that they can enter and leave the polling station safely. Greeters will ask voters to wear a face covering at all times, unless they are exempt, and to follow a one-way system if one is in place, and to sanitize their hands on entry and exit to the station. If a voter turns up without a mask or a face covering, and providing they're not exempt, the greeter will signpost the voter to a box of masks rather than handing the box to them. Greeters need to be familiar with the polling station layout and be aware of the risks, for example, later in the evening, where different lighting may be applied, or the use of different doors. Ventilation is very important. On arrival at the polling station for set-up, preferably the day before, and in the morning before opening the polling station staff must open the windows and doors to purge the station with fresh air. Where windows can be opened in the polling station, open them up to provide natural ventilation. Where you can, prop open doors that are not fire doors. If possible, prop open a final exit door, but obviously not with a fire extinguisher. The opening of the doors and windows increases ventilation, but could make it drafty for you, so make sure you dress appropriately and watch for papers blowing about in any breeze. If doors cannot be propped open, then the touch points of the doors will need to be periodically cleaned. More of this in a minute. Sanitizer. Position the sanitizing station and poster so it is clearly visible and in the line of sight of the seated polling clerks. You will have enough supply of sanitizer to replenish the bottle if it runs out. But don't position the sanitizing station near to a radiator. Greeters will encourage people to use sanitizer on the way in and the way out of the station. One-way system. Where possible, a one-way system has been designed into the polling station layout. Use whatever furniture is available at the polling station for creating a barrier and the one-way system. Chairs are ideal. Where possible, use hazard tape on the floor to indicate where the voter should walk. Use tables and chairs to prevent voters from using toilets and display signage saying that toilets are for staff use only. In bigger stations, greeters will help by encouraging people to queue in socially distanced ways outside and inside the station. At smaller stations, it will be necessary to use a one-in, one-out system. The presiding officer will know what method to use at their station. Just make sure when setting out a one-way system you're not blocking fire exits. The voter should go up to the poll clerk one at a time to collect their ballot paper. The poll clerk should remain seated and not stand up and pass someone the ballot paper over the top or round the side of the screen. This is why some of the screens have a slot at the bottom, so when you are setting the station up, make sure you put the correct screen in the correct place. The poll clerk should sanitize their hands after handling the ballot paper. Booths and boxes. If voters have not got their own pen or pencil, the poll clerk should direct the voter to the clean pencils. The table should be positioned between the polling clerks and the polling booths. Where possible, the polling booth is positioned next to a wall to naturally block off one section. Another is taped over so that there is only one section available and the disabled section available to be used at one time. The ballot box should be positioned at least 2 metres away from the booths and in the one-way system leading out of the polling station. Some stations will have more than one ballot box, and sanitizer should be positioned next to the box or on the way out of the station. Before the polling station opens, a polling clerk should assist in cleaning the station. To do this, protective gloves should be worn and the sanitizing wipes which have been provided should be used to clean the following: the polling clerk tables and screens, the sanitizer stations, the ballot boxes tops and sides, door handles and door plates, banisters if there are any, the polling staff toilet handles, doors and sink taps, and the towel holder in the toilets. Throughout the day, these areas should then be cleaned every 2 hours following the same routine, and once the wipes are finished with, they should be discarded in the lidded bin. If someone appears unwell, the greeter, maintaining social distancing, should draw their attention to the presiding officer, who will explain and offer alternative voting options that they may wish to use. For example, a proxy vote. This can be used up to 5 p.m. on polling day. If somebody wishes to use a proxy vote, they will then leave the station and go to arrange that proxy vote. However, you cannot stop a person coming to cast their lawful vote. They have a legal right to do so, and a person may insist and choose that they wish to vote in person, in which case it will be necessary to thoroughly clean the polling station after that person has left. In order to do this, the windows and doors of the polling station should be open, and a polling clerk wearing enhanced protective clothing, that is gloves and a disposable apron and mask, should carry out the cleaning. This includes a full clean using the wipes. More wipes than the general clean is needed, and these should be disposed of in the lidded bin, making sure that all areas that have potentially become contaminated are thoroughly cleaned. By following these simple steps and exercising common sense and courtesy, everyone can play their part to help deliver a COVID-secure election. Thank you for listening.